Well, Miss Lee, I was wondering around what time, or tell us how it happened, how you really felt the moment you really felt you got saved and you weren't just going through the motions of it.
Okay, it was 1949, and my husband and I had just got married too long before that. And we were invited by the couple that we lived in. We had an apartment in their home, and it was my husband's first cousin and family. And they invited us to church. Somebody was having a revival. So my husband and I went. Well, that night, not remembering everything, the Lord dealt with us. The first night we went to the revival, the Lord spoke to both of us, but we didn't neither one tell the other one. But anyway, he said, we'll go back to church tomorrow night. And I said, okay. So we went back. Well, the Lord he had already started working in my heart and his. And so we went back to church that next night. And I didn't know he was going down, and he didn't know I was. But about the time I started out, he had started out at the same time. We both accepted the Lord that night. And I have to say that was one of the happiest times of our lives.
Miss Lee, I know in the past we've had some conversations about some other children that you and your husband have helped. Could you talk to us a little bit about the two nephews that came to live with you?
Yes, their daddy died, and they were not happy at all. And both of them came to live with my husband and me for about 10 years. And they act like we were their mom and daddy. But my husband let them have our car, and just like they were our children, both of us did. And we loved them to death. But both of them have passed away not too long ago. One of them passed away at work. And the other one, they didn't live here. They lived in Rocky Mount. And one of them was in Virginia. But both of them have passed away. Well, we had a country store, and we had a lot of customers, and I got attached to every one of them just about. I would always speak to them. They'd speak to me, and there was one of them that would pick at me every time he come to the store. He would pick at me, and he'd say, "Hello, ugly. How are you today?" I got him back. I started calling him ugly. He was just teasing and aggravating me. But we had a lot of customers, and I loved all of them. And I taught we had black and white customers, and I was taught to speak to all of them and to treat them nice. And I reckon that's why I speak to everybody now, because I was used to it then. If somebody came to the store, we were supposed to talk to them, say hello or something. And he had a farm, my daddy did, and he would rent the farm out. And we didn't want to help on no tobacco or nothing like that, but we wound up, the one that was renting our farm always wanted us to help with the barn and tobacco and stuff. And we would help. But my mother had diabetes, and she had 7 children, and all 7 of us were diabetics. But she was one good mother. I can't say they come any better than she was. and they thought I was the little pet because she went on Friday, she would go to Raleigh, and I say, please come and pick me up, Mommy, and let me go with you to Raleigh. The rest of them called me a little pet, but I was the only one that asked her, and she'd come pick me up at school and take me with her to Raleigh. She had to go pick up produce and stuff that she sold out in the store. And, well, they said I was the little pet, but it was because I wanted to go with my mother. Wherever she went, I wanted to go. And I remember one time, she was going to church, and we live in a crossroads, and my mother was going, and when she got across the road down that way, I took off behind her. I don't even remember how old I was so small. And I took off running behind the car, thought I could catch the car and go with her to church. She was going to church with somebody. But my daddy never had spanked me, never hit me a lick in my life, and he hadn't since. But that night, I ran down the road trying to catch the car and go with my mama to church. And he came along behind me like this, and I think I jumped off the ground. It scared me. He had never whipped me before, and it scared me to death and upset me. But I didn't get to go to church with her. She didn't know I was running behind the car. She was in the car in front of me. But I passed across the road, and I was taking off behind that car. I wanted to go to church. But I enjoyed growing up. I really did. As I said, we had a store, and we'd go in the store, us children, when we wanted a drink or we wanted some nails or potato chips. We'd go in there, Mom, can we have so-and-so? Yes, go ahead and get it. And she never turned us down. Whatever we asked her for, we got it. And I had a real good mother, and I had a good father.
Edith, I've known you from, I think about 2008 is when I first met you, and you were a resident of Clayton House at the time, and then you were transferred to Lee's, and we continued our friendship. And I would like to ask you about your transition from having your own home and coming to Clayton House, and then your transition from Clayton House to Lee's. So just start by telling us maybe a little bit about moving from your home into Clayton House. What was that like?
Well, after my husband passed away, I was going to stay in my house, but I was really, well, my husband told me before he passed away, he said, if anything ever happens to me, don't you live here in this big house by yourself. You go stay with somebody or get somebody to stay with you. So he passed away in my den. And so I stayed by myself a few weeks. And then I decided I didn't want to stay there because he said, I'm afraid somebody will hurt you. So I thought about that.
So after that tragedy of having your sister killed, do you think that was like the major turning point in your mind, that you needed to be someplace, like your husband said,
Yes.
that where you would feel safe?
I thought about that a lot because he must have foreseen something.
Right.
Because we were in a kind of a new settlement, you know, but there was a lot of houses there. And I reckon he was thinking about if he died, they would see the flower on the door or something, or know that he was gone. And he said, I'm afraid somebody will hurt you. Don't live here by yourself.
Yeah.
So I lived there a little while, and I thought over and over, you know, and I was really afraid to stay there.
So Edith, you said that you were first in an apartment. After you left your home, you were in an apartment. And then what happened while you were in the apartment that made you move to Clayton House?
Well, I was not able to after I had my mini stroke, I was not able really to keep house and cook and do all that. So, and my family didn't want me to live by myself after my sister got killed, especially. So that was one reason I went ahead. I sold my house. And went ahead.
Okay. So then you went to Clayton House.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
you were in Clayton House for how long? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I believe it was about a year,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure.
Okay. And then we started a friendship, and people were being moved out of Clayton House, and we didn't know where some of you were going to be. And I remember the day that you said to me, I know where I'm going next, and it's Lee's. And I said, I know right where that is, and I'll find you.
And I did not, I'd never heard of it before.
I know.
But the way I got to stay there, my sister, she went all the places that had a place like this. She drove around and looked at all of them and got the price of all of them. And then she would come back and tell me, and she found this one and told me about it, and she liked it. So I never looked at another one.
Now I want you to talk to us a little bit about how God arranged who your roommate was going to be once you got to Lee's. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, before I ever came here, the reason I had to leave Clayton House is because if you didn't have, what was it?
Alzheimer's.
Yeah, if you didn't have Alzheimer's, you had to leave because they were going to have all
Yes.
people have
It was
all
going to become a locked facility.
Yeah,
Right.
so I had to move. And I dreaded it so bad, because having to go to another place, and I never heard of this place before. But I prayed and prayed and prayed. I was more concerned about who was going to be in the room with me. And I prayed and prayed and prayed every night and every day. Please put me with somebody, a Christian person. Don't let me get with a person that's lost and one that curses and drinks and all that stuff. Some women do that too, they say.
That's right.
So he put me with Doris, and she would pray the same thing I was. She never met me, I'd never met her. And she was praying the same thing for God to put a Christian lady with her. So that both of us was praying for each other, and neither one knew. I never knew her, and she didn't know me until I moved here.
And how do you feel about Doris, your roommate?
Oh, I love her to death. We get along so good.
Yeah.
She's precious, and sometimes we have prayer together, in our room.
I know she says that you are her eyes because she's legally blind, and you say she is your
Brain, because I can't remember since I had a mini stroke. I can't remember a lot of things.
So God took care of the two of you, put you together,
Sure
and
did.
it was a match made in heaven.
Yes, it was. Because she helped me and I helped her.